Hey, you're watching Big Lou Barbecue and other things I want to do. And what I want to do today is tell you about what I did last Sunday. It's actually a Friday. I'm re-recording this intro. You see, last Sunday was a beautiful, beautiful day. After a week of freezing weather in mid-January and then a week of rainy weather, last Sunday was really a beautiful day, but it was still very, very windy. I recorded the intro to this video and the audio was just terrible because there was so much wind noise. And I tried to start cooking outside here in my backyard where I like to cook, and the wind blew the propane flame out and I had to move everything under my patio and continue to cook. And you know, I'm just a fella having fun with food, fire, and a phone camera in my backyard. In this case, on my back patio. Started in my backyard. And, you know, I'm videoing. I've got a lengthy cook going on with a lot of steps and stuff. Sometimes I forgot. Like garlic goes in this dish and I forgot to hit record when I put the garlic in there. So I'll write it on the screen when I tell you I added about 2 tablespoons of minced garlic, approximately that much out of a jar. And I made a mistake. But I fixed the mistake. I decided to show this video anyway because, you know, that's cooking. And sometimes you make a mistake and sometimes the mistakes can't be fixed. But if they can be fixed, it's good to know how to fix it. So I show you how to fix it in this video. So I'm gonna show you the footage from last Sunday. It was the day of the AFC Championships. I was trying to watch football. I was trying to video my cook. This is a cook that took, you know, I started in the morning, didn't finish till the afternoon. I cooked 5 gallons of this stuff. I did it in my big 5-gallon Dutch oven from Cajun Classic. Actually, in the video last week, I had it with me, so I show it off to you. So anyway, you can see that on the screen right now as I'm talking to you. You know, that's a big old pot right there. What did I make? Well, I made what some people call a Cajun chicken stew. A lot of people call it a fricassee. Some people say fricassee, but fricassee. And basically, way I think of fricassee, it's got to be like boiled or confit in butter, but some people don't think of it that way. Some people just think of it covered. Some people flour the chicken. I don't flour the chicken anyway. Here's the steps. Here's what happened. And you may think, hey, that's a whole lot. Well, I'll tell you what I did with a lot of it at the end of this video. All right, now earlier this morning when you weren't looking, I took that 10-pound bag of chicken quarters and I cut it up, all right? I cut the thighs and the legs off, and I cut the backbone off, and I took the backbones and I made chicken stock with it. Here, let me show you. I took a little bit of video for it. Let me show you how that went. So here I am, I'm splitting them up. Backs are going into the cast iron pot and the legs and thighs are going into that plastic bowl. There it is, split up just into those 3 pieces. Then I take all those backs and I put in some celery, some onions, a bunch of bay leaves, because I want to have some bay leaf flavor in this. And I begin to boil it with some salt, and I boil it for about 30 minutes and then simmer it for about 90 minutes. And then I've got this delicious looking chicken stock. I'm gonna strain it and keep the meat. All right, well, now you know how I cut this up. Now you know what I did with the stock. And what I'm gonna do is I'm put Tony Chachere's more spice. You wanna use a Cajun Creole style rub on this. You can use your own seasonings if you want to. That would be salt, pepper, garlic, chili powder, and cayenne pepper. Maybe a little MSG. Tony's doesn't have MSG in it. You wanna say, well, how much? Well, look, cowboy, if you don't wanna use the pre-made stuff, you'll have to figure out your own ratio on that, all right? I do have a video on how to make Tony's. And you can add more cayenne to it if you want. Anyway, I want to put a lot on here. I think I probably got enough. I'm just kind of rub these around like this. I'll put the lid on this bowl and I'm gonna shake it up. I'm gonna put in a pound. This is 1/4 pound. I'm using unsalted butter. If you want to know why, did you see how much Tony's I put on that chicken? Now, if you want to use less, then you can use salted butter, you know? Anyway, I'm just gonna get it all in there and get it melted. All right, I switched under my patio. I really only cook under here on rainy and bad weather days. But heck, I'm a widower. My wife can no longer fuss at me for spilling stuff on the concrete if I do. Anyway, the wind was messing with the flame, not letting it get hot, which as you can see, it's starting to get hot in there now. And we're gonna put this chicken in and get it going. Skin side down first. You're gonna let it sit and soak in that butter. Don't want to wait till it gets real hot because butter burns easily. So you want to get this chicken in there once the butter's melted, and then let it continue to come on up to heat. because we don't want to, the butter's eventually going to, you know, overcook, but we want all the stuff in it first before it does. We don't want it to just burn by itself. Put the skin side down. Now this, you see why, you may still hear some wind noise still blowing in through here, but it's not affecting the flames like it was. Anyway, this is why I like to use this pot instead of my stainless steel stock pot, which is taller in 5 gallons, because I got more surface area on the bottom to start browning this chicken. All right, you see I got it hot now. I'm just boiling that in the butter basically and browning it up. All right, it's about time to turn this over. You see it's brown right there? Just look at that, beautiful. So I'm gonna turn all the pieces over and brown them on the other side. Gorgeous. All right, now this chicken is not quite done, and I don't expect it to be done because we're gonna be boiling it for a while. If you wanna know just how undone it is, about 126, 129 is what that's saying. It's always good to have an instant read thermometer, but I know it's not done because it needs to be, you know, it's dark meat. It needs to be 180 before it's done, but we're gonna be boiling it. But it's time to get it out of here. And I've got the lid to this big 5-quart Dutch oven is right over here on my propane tank upside down. And that's where I'm gonna set this chicken down at. All right, all my chicken is right over here on the side, and what we're doing is we're not gonna start the roux yet. I'm gonna turn this fire down a bit though, because it's too hot. I'm gonna turn it to simmer, but we're gonna listen. Right now it's starting to crackle, but it sounds like it's boiling, and then what we want to do is turn to a crackle. You see all that steam coming off of there? That steam's got to come out, and we just want the oil, all right, or the grease, or the animal fat, whatever you want to call it. So we wait. We wait for it to go from a boiling sound to a like bacon frying, sizzling, crackling sound. And while it does that, go ahead and scrape all this stuff off the bottom so it doesn't burn and stick. Now look, that was my error. I had the fire too hot by the time I got the chicken out. And so some of this fond has gotten, you know, a little too brown. Some of it's nice and brown, some of it's black. So I've got it over here on my thing, and I'm gonna kind of pick through it when it cools off. And if it's brown and looks like I can use it, I'm gonna throw it back in the pot. And if not, I'm not throwing it back in there because I don't want burn flavor, I want good flavor. This Macware by Cajun Classic roux spoon is a good job for this because I can scrape the bottom with the flat side of the spoon, you know? Anyway, it's getting to where it's beginning to sizzle and not boil anymore. And I don't see as much steam coming off of it. So about time to start this roux. All right, I think I've got enough in here for this pint of flour. But if I don't, you hear it snapping and not boiling anymore, we're ready. I've got all that grease from the chicken stock that I skimmed off that I'll use to help the roux out if I need more. So here's a pint of flour, that's 2 cups. Yeah, you can see it's still pretty hot. That's all right. We'll get it stirring and going. The temperature is way down now. Maybe more flour, but I think we'll be all right with just this. All right, I added more flour so I could thicken up this roux. Burning the fond was a mistake. I got to throw all that fond away. That's all right, you know, but I showed you how to get rid of it if you do make a mistake like that. So, you know, I'm just a fella having fun with food, fire, and a phone camera in my backyard, in this case on my patio. Not a professional cook, but I don't have the budget to just start over, you know? And I want to go ahead and get this video up, and that's what I would do if I was making this stew and actually burned it and it wasn't cooking on camera. Anyway, that roux is looking good. I like a peanut butter color roux with my chicken stew. Listen, there are roux guides for your colors. This is the Big Lou idea, and I might not have invented it, but this is the way I think of it, okay? You get your, you know, you take your raw flour, you get a blonde roux, then it comes peanut butter roux. This is what I would call a peanut butter roux. After that, you get a caramel roux, then a milk chocolate roux, which is good for gumbos, and then a dark chocolate roux, which is also good for gumbos. I like a dark chocolate roux. Anyway, there's memes and stuff that'll show you what color roux you need for what kind of stuff. I'll find one and put a picture on the screen there. Whatever you're looking at right now, I don't know what it is. It's just something I found on Facebook when I was editing, all right? And this is loud as I'm cooking. But we need to get this stopped. So it's time to put in the vegetables. Now, you need to cut up 1 onion, 1 bell pepper, and 2 ribs of celery. That's the ratio for Trinity, and you're probably gonna need to do that twice for this big pot. I've got a bag here, seasoned blend, and that's what it is. It's a 2-pound package, so that's about how much I'm dumping in here. I did let it defrost, but it's not frozen, so it doesn't shock my pot. But I want to get it all browned up, and what this is going to do is stop that roux from cooking any darker. I'm going to get that all coated in the roux. What I'm doing now is pouring in the chicken stock I made earlier this morning, a whole gallon of it. All right. Now my chicken is going back in. I'm trying to heat up and start to bring this to a boil. All right, my chicken's in. I'm gonna stir it so I didn't incorporate that roux some more, so it doesn't burn on the bottom again. Don't want to stir it too fast because you don't want to just totally rip the chicken apart right now. But later they'll kind of rip apart, and you can pull out any bones that cleanly come off before you serve it. I am going to put in another thing of water, but I want to get that roux mixed up. It's looking good, but we got to bring this to a boil. But I've got to add more water too. So what we got to do now is season it. Got that Tony Saturate's more spice. And what we want to do is just kind of, to judge it, just kind of put a coating of it right across the entire surface, like that. And stir that in. I want to add a little bit extra because I lost a lot of my seasoning with burning that fond, having to get that burnt fond out of there. So, look, it's looking good, y'all. Looking good, but we want to bring it to a raging boil. I'm going to go ahead and pour in a gallon of water. It's all going to thicken up again. It'll help dissolve that roux and then start to thicken it some more. I love this color. If you want it darker, make a darker roux. But you can see it's too thin right now, but it will thicken. And we need to bring it to a boil and boil it for a few minutes before we drop it down to a simmer. But let's go ahead and add one more thing of it. I'm probably not going to do the whole thing. And once I bring it down to a simmer, I'll get a tasting spoon and taste it, and I'll adjust my seasonings at that point. Now, I'm still waiting on this to come back to a boil, but I want to turn the camera back on and tell you, and I hadn't been stirring it this much, I've just kind of been letting it sit here, but I wanted to come back on and tell you about adjusting the seasoning. You want to wait till it comes back to a boil, and it boils for a few minutes. It's approaching boiling stage now, but you want to wait till it comes back to a boil and boils a few minutes, and make sure that chicken's cooked before you start sipping on this, because that chicken's not fully cooked yet, remember? So we got to make sure it comes back to a boil and boils that chicken. Then we want to simmer it and get that chicken to be all, you know, real tender and everything, so those bones come off cleanly and stuff like that when you serve it. But it's not, that chicken's not cooked till this has been boiling for maybe 4 or 5 minutes. So you want to wait till you got it boiling for a while, then turn it down to the simmer, then taste for your seasonings and adjust at that point. I want to make that absolutely clear. Do not taste for seasonings before you know that chicken's cooked. All right, this is beginning to approach a boil. I'm looking here for some of these black spots that come up because I burned the fond. I want to get those out, all right? So I hadn't found too many more, but you want to go ahead and get those out. Look, you're not supposed to be doing that if you don't burn the fond, but if you do burn the fond, this is how you fix it, so you can save your stew, you know? All right, we are at the raging boiling point, and gonna time it about 5 minutes or a few more. Still looking for any dark black spots that'll give it an off flavor and get that out of there. I don't see too many more coming out. The little ones like that, not worth worrying about. You know, they're just, that's fine. You'll get that even if you don't burn the fond. But big, you know, flakes of burned stuff, I want out of there. That's my fault. But hey, that's cooking, you know. When you cook it on a propane burner, it's easy to get it too hot. It's not something you cook with every day. You might not do that on your stove, but anyway, I wish it hadn't happened. Wish it looked like a perfect cook, but you know what? You get me, you get real, and you know what to do if you mess up too, all right? Get a roux spoon with holes in it and strain all that burnt stuff out of there. That's one I think I was chasing right there. We're gonna let this boil for 5 minutes. All right, that's the lid where I had the chicken. It's, you know, all those drippings are beginning to congeal because it's, you know, a little cool out here. It's a nice day, but it's a little cool. So anyway, that's been boiling for 5 minutes. I'm gonna stir it one more time. I'm gonna put that lid on there. Let all those drippings drip in there. And we're gonna simmer this for 45 minutes to an hour. Could do longer, could do 90 or even 2 hours if I wanted, but we wanna eat sometime today, and probably gonna just let it simmer for an hour. I think that's gonna cook that chicken well enough.
I don't know if you can see it, but I got a low simmering blue flame there. I'm just gonna let it rest for about an hour.
Now this is pretty much all this is gonna look like for the next hour or so, just the Cajun classic top on it. I'm gonna go inside, I'm gonna chop up 2 bunches of green onions, and I'm gonna make the rice. All right, so this has been simmering about an hour. I just turned the gas off just momentarily ago. I've got 2 more ingredients to add. Just look at that, y'all. That Cajun chicken stew, chicken fricassee. It's coming off the bone right there, and it's gonna be just so fork tender. I'm gonna let it sit in the pot for a while, but at this stage, I'm adding 2 bunches of green onion tops. Now, I probably should have cooked it with the white parts down at the bottom of the green onions, but I neglected to do that, so they're not gonna go in now because those parts won't cook. But the tops, they'll be just fine as we let that sit there for a while, because it's still not gonna be serving this for several more minutes, like maybe half an hour. And then that is the chicken that I pulled off the bones from when I made the stock this morning. It's been in the fridge, so this is gonna cool it off a little bit, but it's already cooked and done, you know. It wasn't a cottage cheese container, I just used it because cottage cheese and yogurt come with free Tupperware containers. You know, that's how we roll. Anyway, why waste that chicken that came off the bones from the stock? Throw that into the stew too. Cover it back up, let it sit. Rice has been cooking. I've made a video on how to cook rice. You put rice in a cast iron pot, twice as much water, bring it to a boil, then add half as much rice as you did water. Let it come back to a boil for 5 minutes, then turn your stove off and wait 25 minutes and your rice will be perfect. And so I just turned the rice off just a little bit ago, and when it's done, the stew will be done. All right, now this has been sitting for a few minutes. Now look, oh, look at that. It's still steaming. It smells so good, y'all. You serve this over a bed of rice. I got my rice ready. I'm not gonna do a taste test on camera. Look at that. Just look at that, chicken's falling apart there. I'm not gonna do a taste test on camera. I might later on. You might be thinking this is a lot of chicken. It's probably 3 gallons, maybe 3.5 gallons of chicken stew. Boy, that chicken stew, that chicken fricassee, it came out really, really good. And yes, I made a lot, you know, but hey, I shared it with a friend of mine. She's a widow too, with 2 grown children in her house like I got at my house. So, you know, they enjoyed it. We split it in half, and you know what? We had leftovers, and that was a Sunday, and I had leftovers for lunch on Monday and brought some more on Tuesday, and that pretty much finished it off. Serve it over rice, eat that chicken on the side with a fork, eat that rice and gravy with a spoon, however you want to do it, man. It is absolutely wonderful. Fun dish to make, and it's really fun when you make a big old pot of it like that. Thanks for watching. Big Lou Barbecue.